Hello, everybody. This is Nigel from Louder Than War, and I've got a brand new band, well, new to me, called The Good Water. So Rob and Tom and he calls himself Swebdog, and I think his name's Stuart, are all waiting to tell me all about the band. So do you want to introduce yourself, guys, and just give me a brief sort of summary of what the band is, where it's from, and what you've been up to?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I'm Rob. We've been a three-piece for a few years now, really. I play guitar and sing, Tom plays the drums, and Stu's on keys, and we all sing as well, so there's a lot of kind of three-part harmony stuff going on. And yeah, we kind of got together through a mutual love of kind of 60s psych, really. It was a happy accident, I guess. I don't think we ever sort of set out to be in that kind of genre. It sort of just happened, I suppose.
Where did you meet? Were you at college together or something like that?
So yeah, spot on actually. Me and Tom met at college way back when we were kids, doing a music course together. Me and Tom have kind of always, from that day really that we met, always kind of wrote music together in some form or another. And then we've been in separate bands, and had time apart, and then always kind of come back.
Always around the West Midlands.
Mainly, sort of mainly Midlands-based bands. And then we kind of got together as a two-piece and started just writing more songs as we always had done. And then we met Stu through a mutual friend, and we just kind of had a bit of a jam together, and something just clicked really. And Stu does a lot of work in our band, to be honest. Not only does he play...
I saw that in some of the videos. So I saw him playing keyboards. So sort of this nice wizard on the keyboard.
I'm sure Stu can probably explain it a lot better than me. What do you do, Stu?
Right.
So predominantly I'm influenced heavily by Ray Manzarek, and the main appeal for this band when I joined was the fact that they didn't have a bass player, and I could play bass with my left hand and then play another 3 keyboards with my right hand.
So it's like Rick Wakeman, is it? Sort of.
Well, I'm not going to put myself on that accolade, but along them sort of styles and them genres, I love to play psychedelic, swishy, sort of smooth synths, and with dominant bass lines and prominent organs, through a Leslie cabinet. I love Leslie cabinets. I love the swell, and I like bringing them in and out as according to like the uplifting choruses that we try and achieve.
Yeah, and you mentioned Ray Manzarek. Did Ray Manzarek have a Leslie cabinet? Is that who you were inspired by?
He didn't have a Leslie cabinet, no. So, but I play a Vox AC, a Vox Continental. White keys are black and the black keys are white, opposite way around. But he never put it through a Leslie cabinet. So I thought, well, no one else has done it, so I'll put it through a Leslie cabinet. I've only found one other person in the world that actually plays a Vox Continental through a Leslie cabinet.
But you started, I mean, if I go back to the 2015 song that I saw on YouTube, which is See Your Light, it was sort of 60s pop, but the sound has got more psychedelic over the next 4 years. And I'm sort of hearing Pink Floyd in there, and maybe some Moody Blues, and Tomorrow, I don't know if you know Tomorrow with Keith West. So there is more of a psych influence coming in. Was that a conscious effort to change from sort of 60s pop towards psych, or would you say it's always been in there somewhere?
Well, See Your Light was actually just Rob and Tom in the beginning. And that they recorded that without me, and they didn't know what I was missing. And then when I sort of added my own sort of taste and flavour to things, and it wasn't conscious, but I've always been a pretty trippy person anyway. So I've just sort of incorporated that into them. Slowly but surely, I've got them to jump down the rabbit hole with me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it comes across in the music. I mean, I love the Flaming Lips and sort of 60s psych bands like Tomorrow, and obviously steeped in Pink Floyd. I have everything they ever recorded. I love that type of sound, and I think you've kind of hit a wave because there's almost a resurgence in that sound. There are quite a lot of psych bands out there. So you've kind of done this sort of convergent evolution into something that's actually happening now. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think I'd definitely agree with that. I mean, it's almost like in the space of the band, we've kind of almost gone through the 60s and then into the 70s, just as the band ourselves, as Stu alluded to there. Me and Tom were a two-piece for a few years, and I was listening to a lot of Northern Soul stuff then, and still do. I love Northern Soul. So the See Your Light track just kind of came out. It was one of those sort of 10-minute jobs, I kind of wrote it, I think, on like a Wednesday afternoon on my acoustic guitar. I was meeting Tom in the evening, so me and Tom kind of get together, and then within half an hour the kind of track is as you hear it now. But I think then as we started to kind of get really excited about what we'd done there with that kind of genre, we then sort of started to experiment a little bit more. And as I said, the way the kind of, the 60s moved through sound and into the 70s, it's almost like us as a band have kind of done that. And then when Stu got involved, it kind of pushed that sort of even further, really. Tom, did you want to add something there?
Yeah, I think I always say it's like a mixture of like a pop structure with a psychedelic sound, and I think that's where See Your Light came from. And it was kind of opening our eyes to, you don't always have to play everything all the time, and you don't have to necessarily demonstrate how much you can do. You can just really listen and home in on the song itself.
Yeah.
So See Your Light was...
You've got a good point there, because you're a three-piece, and with a three-piece, unless you're the experience, it's very difficult to fill in the gaps. So with Jimi Hendrix, you'd got Jimi Hendrix playing just everything and filling in all the gaps. But generally with a three-piece, you've got, guitar, bass guitar and drums, or in your case, visibly guitar, keyboard and drums. There are bound to be gaps. And sometimes when you play live, it's difficult to get the sound that you've done in the studio out there live. So how do you actually go about that? Because that's an interesting point.
I think sometimes it's the opposite way around for us. It's how do we get that live sound in a recording environment? Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. The other way around.
Yeah. That's Rob's taken over more of the production now as well, with the new releases coming out soon. And that, I think, has encapsulated our sound even more, because we know what we're listening for, really. And it sounds more like you're on the stage with us, as opposed to being an audience member listening, if that makes sense.
So how do you actually produce the bass on stage when Stuart's playing keyboards, for example?
Yeah, so it's kind of all in Stu's left hand, I suppose.
So he was telling the truth when he said he was doing
he was, and
the keyboards with the other.
No word of a lie there at all. That's it. It's a definite kind of Doors vibe, which from my point of view as the guitarist and singer, when me and Tom were a two-piece for just those kind of couple of years, I mean, Tom played the drums and sang wonderfully, but he's kind of doing the same job now as he was doing before, because, he's only got 2 arms and 2 legs. Whereas when we were a two-piece, I was spreading myself so thin. I was sort of trying to play bass lines with my thumb and then lead stuff over the top of it, and then looping things on a pedal and trying to sing at the same time. And as fun, that was really, really fun. For
almost like being a busker, right?
Almost, like put cymbals between my knees, and I'm doing the whole thing.
That was my job.
but while that was fun, it was taxing to say the least. So then, when sort of Stu came along and said, "Well, I'm up for playing the bass and the keys at the same time," I thought, brilliant, So for me, as artistically, I feel so much more relaxed and comfortable on stage now because I'm playing the guitar and I'm singing, and I can just give everything to that, you know. So it's almost like I've taken a load of work and just given it to Stu.
Yeah, but it works. You need to be able to think, don't you? You need to be able to think, to articulate. So I guess the band sounds clearer and better as a result, right?
Yeah. But I can't. Sorry, but now I've got all the burden, I've got all the weight, and I have to suffer all of Rob's problems that he had previously, and now it's all my problem. But I've got broad shoulders, so it's
you brought it on yourself.
As soon as that door was open a crack, and he said, "I'll give it a go with both hands," I was like, "Right, that's it. I'm done. I'm never doing that again."
Yeah. Well, that's. But, I mean, just coming, there are some other psych bands out there. I don't know if you've heard of Truces, Triptide, Superdrone, and there's a young duo from where are they from? Brighton, called Barbara. So if you've not heard those bands, go listen to them, because they're kind of what you're doing. When I said there was this kind of convergent evolution, those are on my sort of spectrum at the moment. Those four bands, particularly Truces, they're amazing. So. Just
we'll check them out, definitely.
Bring out some relevance. But since 2019, then, so the last video I found on YouTube was Colours, which is an amazing track. It's very dense, it's very acid soaked, very psychedelic. So before I go on, so what sort of influences are you using now? Because you've spoken about the Doors, and I've said psych. So what bands influenced the writing of that song and the delivery?
For Colours in particular, I guess it was I think I got really obsessed with a band called Temples, who we saw live. I think we did Luna Festival, which is kind of a local festival to us in Birmingham. It's not a huge festival, but it's fantastically run. We know a few of the guys that work down there, and we saw them live, and they just completely blew me away, really. The guy plays a Gretsch guitar similar to mine, so instantly I was like, yeah, that dude knows what he's doing. Yeah. But so I got really, really obsessed with that album, and Tame Impala, of course.
Right. The early stuff, though, right? Sort of lonerism, Tame Impala, as opposed to was it Elements?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've got a lot of time, for anything. Pardon?
They went a bit sort of poppy and off the scale when Currents came out. Kevin Parker's a genius,
definitely. Right? I mean, I've got a lot of time for pretty much anything that Kevin Parker does. He's always in my top 5, when we're talking about favorite musicians and stuff. So I was kind of listening to a lot of that sort of genre, that kind of psych pop sort of stuff. And then Colours just kind of came out. I think I wrote the bulk of that one. Again, probably just on acoustic guitar, sort of verses and choruses, and then obviously took it to the lads, and Tom put it. It's just there's
magic on it. Stuart put his magic on it.
Yeah, there's just one fill. I think it's just before the second verse that Tom does, and every time he plays that fill live, I just turn to him and smile. It's only just a quarter of a bar, but it's beautiful. And then Stu put all these wibbly wobbly stuff all over the top of it, and that's what you get. Yes.
So just moving on then from 2019 with Colours. So what you've been doing for the past couple of years, how has it progressed? Why have we not seen any more videos?
Yeah, I mean, there's the biggest reason for that, I suppose, more recently is the whole pandemic thing,
which being zapped out the whole of 2020.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just written off a year of everybody's life. We obviously we don't want to dwell on that too much. We're going to try and keep it all positive. So that's one reason why there isn't a lot going on, especially on our social media and stuff. I'm definitely an advocate of, if you haven't got anything to say, don't say anything online, because there are so many bands that just post stuff for the sake of it. And for me, I always try and post when I've got something to say, as I said. But kind of going before that, then before all the pandemic happened, we were kind of knuckling down really, and getting our EP finished off. We'd done obviously the previous singles that you mentioned. Colours was the last one, but between, just to fill in the timeline a little bit for you, between See Your Light, which was kind of our I don't even know whether that was a proper release. I think me and Tom just kind of put it out just to see what happened. There was a track called Man Said that we also kind of threw out with not much PR behind it. That's a fun track. Then our first kind of serious release as a 3-piece was a track called Tell Me What to Do. Yeah. And I think we'll have a chat about Tony, I'm sure, a little bit later. But I think that was the track that first kind of grabbed him, really, because it's a very cool video that goes along with that song. And then we get Colours after that. And then, as I said, over the last kind of couple of years, really, we were sort of just knuckling down and getting our EP sorted. Tom kind of alluded to the fact that I've sort of taken a little bit more of a production role, because we work with a really good producer, a guy called Ryan Pinson, and he's fantastic. He really understands the band. But
is this a studio in the West Midlands?
It is, yeah. It's in Wolverhampton, I think it's based.
It's got a rich history though, Wolverhampton, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, as far as
Slade from Wolverhampton.
They were indeed, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, the reason it's looking a little bit blank then kind of online is because we were really focusing on getting the EP ready to roll out, which we did do, you know, just before the pandemic. The whole kind of EP package was there and ready to go. Press shots, video, you know, artwork, everything was done in the little package and ready to be delivered to the world. And then the pandemic struck, and we made the decision to just hold back on the release, basically. The main reason for that is because we kind of pride ourselves on being a live band, and we felt that if we couldn't at least do a few tour dates around the release, it just didn't feel right to us.
Yeah.
So we decided to push things back, basically.
It's got to be supported. You know, I mean, a few bands have released stuff through the pandemic, and it has been difficult for them because they've not been able to go out on the road and actually, you know, perform what they've just released. I was talking to Aaron from Slow Readers Club, and they actually brought out a new album called 91 Days in Isolation, which was recorded during the pandemic up to the summer. So, you know, it was difficult for them, and they've not been able to sort of tour that, you know. So, yeah, I understand it's difficult. So how are you going to progress this now? So when's the EP coming out? What's it called?
So the EP is called Feel Your Mind, which is a lyric from one of the tracks on there. We haven't actually set a date yet, because everything, although we feel like we're kind of coming out of it, and there are you know, things are kind of seem to be settling down a little bit, and maybe live gigs are going to come back, who knows. I think because of Tony's involvement as well now with the band, there feels like a kind of a new sort of resurgence after the kind of quiet spell that we've had, really. So we're not
within the band itself, you mean?
Yeah, I suppose in the band itself, because we haven't played, you know, with the lockdowns and stuff, we haven't been getting together. You know, we used to see each other twice a week or whatever. But we haven't done that. So we do feel like naturally the band is kind of just I think everything's just kind of slowed down a little bit, to be honest. But now hopefully with Tony being involved and Georgina as well, the wheels are going to start turning again.
And you've mentioned Tony a few times, and for the watchers of this video, this is Tony Davidson, and I'm a personal friend of Tony's, and Tony actually ran the TJM record label in Manchester in the 1970s, as well as running the TJM rehearsal studio, where famously Joy Division recorded Love Will Tear Us Apart. But a lot of other bands recorded there as well and rehearsed there, V2, Buzzcocks, and Slaughter and the Dogs, bands like that. So Tony is kind of steeped in Manchester history and knows everybody in Manchester. And so how did you meet?
So Stu could feel that one.
So it's sort of it was a meeting of minds, really, actually. My dad was on the Northern Soul scene with a guy called Steve Glover and Tony back in the day. They used to do Stoke Town Hall, Stoke Newington, the Blackpool Mecca, and they'd go robbing pharmacies for
substances,
for substances, and they'd make a point of of going for the whole weekend and meeting up and in the bell-bottom trousers. And my dad was a Northern Soul dancer, a very good Northern Soul dancer, actually. And so actually, because of the pandemic, Steve Glover used to do a radio, a DJ slot up Sutton Coldfield every Friday. And because of the pandemic, he started doing it online on Facebook. So if it wasn't for the pandemic, actually, then we would never have gotten in contact with Tony, because my dad started speaking to Steve Glover again. And then Steve got in contact with Tony, and then Tony got in contact with my dad again. And then we've had a meeting of minds, and then he came down, saw us, came down from Manchester, had a meeting, and it was all really positive. And we're just looking to break out of Birmingham now and just like smash the rest of the UK.
I mean, he called me. I think it was quite shortly after he'd been down to see you, you know, and said, you know, would you be prepared to get involved and interview the band and, you know, review a little bit of stuff and sort of get involved. So, you know, he's really enthusiastic about you guys, you know. And one thing I would say is that there is a professionalism that I can see in the band with you three that comes across on stage, because it's very formed. Everything that you do sounds well produced, well put together and well performed. So, you know, I guess Tony kind of saw that, you know. So, I mean, hats off to you for actually getting this far. But just to push the point, Rob, about the EP coming out and any live dates coming forward, have you got anything planned or set up?
So, as I said, we're not, we're kind of not, we're not committing ourselves to.
Oh, I see. Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, just yet.
But it's likely to be by the summer, or.
Oh, this year is kind of what I'm saying to people at the moment. Just because we've had a release date in our minds, and it's changed so many times. We just feel that, and because we want to have more conversation with Tony and kind of see how that relationship develops, it would be. We sort of don't want to jump the gun on that too much, but definitely at some point this year, I guess we'll say. And I suppose as for live dates, there's just one kind of date in the diary at the moment, which is a Birmingham date. And that's because of the pandemic has been rescheduled for the 5th time, I think now.
Oh, really?
That's how determined we've been with this date. So I think it was
26.
I think I'm trying to remember how the date even started for this particular gig, because it's Christ, such a long time ago.
It was start of December.
Was it supposed to be like a Christmas thing? Was
December
it? I can't.
2020. Yeah.
So it's been pushed back, and just when there was a glimmer of hope, you know, that the lockdowns were lifted, then we rebooked it, and then blah blah blah. So it's been rescheduled a handful of times now. At the moment, it's in the diary as the 26th of June.
Okay.
With the golden date for everything to be back to normal is the 21st of June, isn't it? So we are cutting it a little bit, you know.
So you're going to be debuting new tracks on that EP, and then hoping to follow that with a tour, a few dates, maybe come up to Manchester, etc., etc.
Exactly that, yeah. So as I said before, the EP itself is as a package is kind of ready to go. Cool. It's just we're kind of juggling things and deciding exactly how we want to kind of present it with, you know, what label or what PR and all that really exciting stuff.
Psychedelic cover.
yeah, exactly.
Best design on the cover. Don't tell me you want to use a graphic artist. I don't know. So, Rob, tell me about your support slot with the Sheepdogs.
So, yeah, that was it was kind of one that came out of the blue, really. The Sheepdogs are a Canadian band. I'm sure they wouldn't mind me saying kind of sort of 70s kind of influenced, a lot of kind of guitar harmony kind of solos and stuff.
Okay. All
just amazing musicians, fantastic to watch. And I think the way it kind of came about was they were due to play a Birmingham show and their support dropped out or something. So we were kind of due to support them in Birmingham. I think they must have had a look at our stuff online and kind of must have liked what we did. So then asked us to do the rest of the tour with them.
That's cool.
Which was, you know, as you sort of said before, it's amazing exposure when you get to tour with a band like that.
Yeah.
They're just that level up, you know, just amazing musicians. And yeah, we did quite a few dates with them. I think we went to Dublin, Leeds. We played a London date, Birmingham, so, and a few others. So yeah, it was a fantastic experience for us, and we'd love to do it again if we could. Yeah.
Yeah. So really, you want to be looking at that, don't you? So any other bands from abroad? But it's very difficult for them to tour at the moment, of course, because of the difficulty of actually coming into the UK. So that's going to be tough. But if you are going to do dates, I mean, obviously Manchester is, you know, it's rocking at the moment. It really is. And there are so many venues in Manchester, from the Castle right up to the Academy and, you know, the Albert Hall, that have got the sort of capacity, well, those bigger capacities, but you really need to be thinking about a larger hall for fewer people because of COVID, right? So if say, you know, I don't know, Academy 3 holds 500 people and you would attract 200, those are the sort of venues you really need to be looking at, as opposed to thinking that you can cram all of the people in, because it ain't going to happen.
That's it, exactly that. You know, live gigs, they are just going to be different, you know, over the next kind of maybe 12 months or maybe longer. There's no getting away from that, really. I mean, but pre kind of pandemic, we were sort of selling out shows in Birmingham, sort of 200-300 capacity shows, but they were hot, sweaty, jumping around at the front, you know, everyone kind of dancing around and having a good time shows. And I guess those kind of gigs will just take a while to kind of come back. So like you said, I mean, maybe when we do start doing gigs again, we'll have to sort of go to bigger venues in order, you know, that everyone's kind of got the space that they need. But as we were kind of alluding to before, another reason why we're kind of excited to start working with Tony is because we feel like we've gigged a lot in Birmingham, and we've you know, we've created our kind of fan base down here, and we feel like we're kind of in a good place in the Midlands. But hopefully with Tony on board, we can then start to branch up to Manchester and start playing some more shows a bit further afield, really.
Yeah. You could also get on bills at festivals as well. You know, all around the UK, the festivals are going to be starting up. Not Glastonbury, obviously, but you know, there's the Neighbourhood Festival up in Warrington. That's quite a cool one to do. I think that's on the 3rd of September. But you'll have festivals right up to, I guess, the end of September that maybe, you know, you could get on some of those bills, and maybe Tony could help you.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, as I said before, we do sort of pride ourselves on being a live band. I mean, it's that's where all three of us come from, kind of naturally. We've always you know, we enjoy being in the studio and stuff, but there's nothing like playing in front of a crowd. So the more we can do that, especially festivals, just the best gigs.
Well, you can see that in your videos. It comes across how you enjoy.
Oh, good.
You know, it really does come across. Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad. So yeah, I mean, hopefully, if there are dates available, we'll jump on them and go from there. Yeah. We had a little preamble before we started this interview about anybody's got any strange hobbies or pastimes, which is always how I finish an interview. So you're not into extreme skateboarding or frisbee or anything like that? Has anybody got any weird hobbies that they want to share with us? Stu's is probably the weirdest, isn't it, with his underwater excavations?
Oh yeah, you're scuba diving, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a qualified advanced open water diver. Cool. I did my advanced open water diving in Turkey just before the pandemic. Actually, I qualified for my open water. You had to go down to 45 meters in a cave, but I had a hole in my BCD, which is your basically your life jacket, and I got chucked out into the ocean, like dismounted sort of marine style off this dinghy. And I said to the guy, well, yeah, I've got a hole in my BCD, so I was sinking before I even got down to this cave. And he said, well, it's 45 minutes from where the jetty was, so we're going to have to crack on. So I went down into the first cave and then continued into the second cave, and we come up through a little hole at the top where you could breathe openly. And I said, mate, to be honest, like I'm running out of oxygen. He says, well, we ain't got far now. Like, let's go back down. So I went back down to 45 meters, carried on through the hole, and then we had to dive down to 50 meters then. And then he says, well, he gets like that, you know, how much oxygen have you got left? And I said to him, 5 bar. And he's like, oh shit. Right, okay, so you have my spare regulator. and I'll take you up to the surface then. But we had to wait to decompress on a rope while he went down then and left me with my own regulator, which was running out, while he got the anchor back up. But needless to say, I passed, and he could not fail me after that. So
I thought you said you're an expert in this diving. You nearly killed yourself, right?
I'm still here.
Look, hey, look. So it's been great talking to you today, guys. This is The Good Water. They're from Birmingham. I've been Nigel Carr for Louder Than War. And thanks for watching. Thanks, guys.
Brilliant.
Thanks, man.
Cheers. Thanks,
Thank
Nigel.
you. Bye.